Alright guys, so yesterday we talked about area of a triangle. We're going to still talk about area of a triangle today. Because when we talked about it yesterday, we're talking about triangles that didn't have a base and a height, a considered base and height. So we're not really able to use the formula area is equal to 1/2 base times height. We can't just use this formula because we don't have a set base or height for the given triangle. So this doesn't work. But if we're given two sides and the angle in the middle, we could use our formula that we had yesterday for these here, which is our 1/2 times A times C times sine of B, or the two sides times sine of the angle in the middle. And that would work just fine. Now, say we're not given that. Well, we have a different way we can solve it, and that's using Heron's formula. Heron's formula works if we're given all three side lengths, and we need two main parts. The first is this S value, and we get that from adding all three sides together and dividing by 2. So if we add all three of the side lengths together and divide by 2, we will get this S. And then what we do from there is we plug it into this formula here. Square root of S times S minus A times S minus B times S minus C. And once we do all of that, we would get the area of the triangle. So again, just like yesterday, this here is another one where we're just plugging numbers into the equations and solving. And so we'll look at 4 examples of this here, trying to find these areas of these different triangles. And this one here is going to be the first one that we're going to look at. So let's go on and get started with this one here. Now the two things we need to find, well, the main first thing we need to find is S, our S value. Now S is equal to all the side lengths added together and divided by 2. So here, the values that we're going to add together is going to be 7.5 plus 14 plus 8. So we're going to add all those together and divide it by 2. Divided by 2. Now if we add all those values together, 7.5 plus 14 plus 8, because 14 plus 8 would be 22. And this would give us 29.5. Then we have to divide it by 2, and if we divide that by 2, we would get that this here is 14.75. And that's the value of S for us here. Now what we need to do next is that we need to plug it into the area part of the formula. So when we look at this here, S, the first part we need is going to be the three side lengths added together and divided by 2. And our area is going to be plugging S, A, B, and C in. So for the overall area, it's going to equal, see if I can write, the square root so our S would be 14.75 because we have it first. Now we take that S value, 14.75, and subtract it from one of the side lengths. It doesn't matter which one we do first. We can do 14 because we're going to end up doing all of them, minus 0.5, 14.75 minus 8. And we're taking the square root of all of these here. Now at this point here, you can plug this onto the calculator if you have a calculator that can calculate, or actually have a calculator sitting at home, or the TI-30XS or TI-84, either one of those will calculate this out. Or if we did this somewhat by hand, because we can't do it all by hand, is we can subtract each one of these here. So 14.75 minus 14 will be 0.75. 14.75 minus 7.5 is going to be 7.25. And 14.75 minus 8 is going to be 6.75. Now at this point here, you can type all these into the calculator. You can multiply these all together and set it equal to, or then take the square root of it. And if we multiply all these together, 14.75 times 0.75 times 7.25 times 6.275 times 7.25 times 14.75, we would get the square root of 541.37 1094, and it continues on, which, if we take the square root of that, we'll get 23.27. And I'm rounding to the nearest hundredth. I'm rounding to the nearest second decimal place. And that's it. Now, could you have typed all this into the calculator? Give me a highlighter. All this right here. Well, yes, you could have typed all that into the calculator and it would have given you your answer. This here. Or we can have worked it out. Either way, we would get to the area of the triangle. And that's it. That's all we'd have to do for this here. Okay. We're going to do it again. So we're going to look at this one here. And again, one of the first things we need is the S value. It's not too hard to find. All we've got to do is add all three side lengths together and divide them by 2. We have 14 plus 14 plus 13. So we're going to add those three values together and divide it by 2. When we add those three values together, 14 plus 14 is 28, and 28 plus 13 is 41. And we're going to divide that by 2. It needs quite a long line. Well, that there is going to equal 20.5. So once we add all those together and divide by 2, we get 20.5. And that gives us our S value, which means we can go on and find the area, which is going to be the square root of 20.5 times 20.5 minus 14 times 20.5 minus 14 times 20.5 minus 13. I'll put the square root in there because we're taking the square root of all these together. And again, when we do this, we're just taking each one of these individually. So we take S, multiply by S minus one of the side lengths, times S minus a different side length, times S minus the last side length. And that's how we're going to get the area. Now at this point here, we can calculate this, plug this all into the calculator. Or we can simplify it down a little bit. And we simplify it down, but we still have 0.5 times 6.5 times 6.5 times 7.5. And at this point here, I just went on and typed this into the calculator, did those multiplications and took the square root. And I ended up getting 80.60. It was 5.9. I went on and rounded to the nearest hundredth, second decimal place, and I got this here. And that's all we have to do for these here. And that's it. That's all we have to do for this problem here. So we'll look at two more. We'll look at this one and the next one. So again, when we solve these here, the first thing we have to find is the S value. Now to find this value, we're going to add all the side lengths together. 16 plus 7 plus 10. Take all these together and divide it by 2. When we add all of those three side lengths together, (16 plus 7) is going to be 23, and 23 plus 10 is 33. And we're going to take 33 and divide it by 2. And 33 divided by 2 will give us 16.5. So that means our S value for this here, for this triangle, is 16.5. Which is helpful because when we're solving for the area, we're going to take 16.5, multiply that by 16.5 minus 16, one of the side lengths, minus 10, one of the other side lengths, and the last side length is 7. And we have all of these here. And we're taking the square root of it. And again, just like with the last one, you can go on and type all this into the calculator, the square root of 16 times 16.5 minus 16 times 16.5 minus 10 times 16.5 minus 7. So you can multiply all those together. Or if you want to simplify it a little bit, 16.5 times 16.5 minus 16 is going to be 0.5. 16.5 minus 10 is going to be 6.5. And 16.5 minus 7 is going to be 9.5. And if you wanted to keep going from there, simplifying down, you can multiply all these together. Get a highlighter. So you can multiply all these here together, and then to take the square root of that. And if you multiply all those together and take the square root of it, you would get 22.57, rounded to the nearest 10. And that's all that you would have to do for these here. That's all you need to do for this problem. So we added all three side lengths together, divided by 2 to get our 16.5. Plugged it in for S. Plugged in our three side lengths for A, B, and C. Simplified and got our answer. And that's it. That's all we have to do for this here. All right, let's look at the last one. So again, the first real thing we need is S. Because once we get this S value, we can plug into our formula and solve. So S is going to be the three side lengths added together and divided by 2. So our three side lengths here added together, 11 plus 9 is 20, plus 6 would be 26. And again, we're still dividing this by 2. If we divide 26 by 2, we get 13. So our S value for this here is going to be 13. When we add all of those side lengths together and divided by 2, we got 13. Now our area is going to be taking 13, multiplying it by 13 minus 11 times 13 minus 9 times 13 minus 6. So we multiply S by S minus each one of the sides and multiply all those together. So we have 13 times 13 minus 11 times 13 minus 9 times 13 minus 6. So we're just plugging in each time for S, A, B, and C, where A, B, and C are each of the side lengths. And we get this here. Now again, at this point, you could type all this into the calculator, and the calculator will solve it for you. Or we can simplify a little bit. 13 minus 11 is 2. 13 minus 9 is 4. And 13 minus 6 is 7. And we'll be taking the square root of it. And if we multiply all that together, 13 times 2 times 4 times 7, and take the square root of it, we get 26.980. And that'd be it. That's all we'd have to do for this here. And we'd be done. And that's all we're actually going to be doing today. So there is a worksheet that I have uploaded to Google Classroom with the attachment, or as an attachment, that I want you to go on and solve and find the area of each one of those triangles. Once you do that, go on and submit it, and that would be your attendance for today. And that's all we have to do here. Hope you all have a great rest of your day.